Everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next 8 to 10 days. In today's video, this takes us to the 30th of July, so more or less to the end of the month, and there's just 1 month of summer left, of course, after that. And also, weather will be turning increasingly unsettled as we go through to the end of the week and into next week, and it may also turn quite a bit cooler as well through the course of this week and into the weekend. So not a particularly inspiring period coming up for anybody that's planning a trip to the coast or a holiday. It's not looking all that good, I'm afraid, but there will be decent weather in there. It is high summer, so in between any rain, when the sun's out, it's going to feel okay, because it is still the middle of summer. So, before I get on with that, just very quick to say about the artists, link to articles on the page, go have a browse through widgets, any articles that you're interested in, please click through. You'll be able to go off and read the article. Thanks very much for doing that. Running very late with today's video, so I'll very quickly get on with it. And here we are with 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts for the next week to 10 days. We've got the east end of the Earth here on the left, the GFS on the right screen as you're looking at it, 500 millibars, 80,000 feet is area in the atmosphere where high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream, running above. Blues extrapolating to low pressure, and orange and red extrapolates to high pressure. So what we see for the coming week to 10 days is that we get an increasingly deep trough of low pressure developing around and to the north and to the northeast of the UK. Both of these charts very much in agreement with this, actually, that this deep trough that we've had across much of Western Russia and Scandinavia through much of the summer, it's been a very poor summer there, very cool and showery summer, is backing westwards into the northwest of Europe, so backing westwards into the UK and Ireland. That looks very unsettled. And just to add to the trouble, we've got the lines here which are indicating the jet stream generally going a little bit to the south of the country, rather like that. So it looks like we're going on to the cool side of the jet, and with a trough of low pressure it's likely to be really quite unsettled indeed. Some bands of rain can be expected to be coming through with that. Notice also heights are lowering a little bit to the south. It looks as though the Azores high, which has been very strong through most of the summer, has kept southern parts of the country generally quite dry and warm. The Azores high is beginning to weaken just a little bit and perhaps pull out of Spain ever so slightly, so that will probably allow cooler air to start digging down into Spain. It's been a really hot summer so far. It'll still be hot, of course, it's down in the Mediterranean, so still be very warm, but it will probably allow these bands of rain to move into southern parts of the country, where so far this summer it has been generally quite a dry one. So have a look at the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. Dealing with temperatures first of all, the red line here, the thick red line, is the 30-year temperature average, and you can see that we're currently still a bit above average now. It's quite warm and humid in the air, but the trend is definitely downwards through the remainder of this week. As we get through, or through the rest of this week, as we get through towards the end of the week, we are going below the red line, below the 30-year temperature average. I mean, it looks like we're staying pretty cool, below average with the upper air temperatures anyway, going forward into the end of the month. This is the 1st of August just here, dates running along the bottom of the graph, as you can see. Now, what I've got to bear in mind is that these are upper air temperatures, so down on the surface it'll still feel relatively warm whenever the sun comes out. At this time of year we can offset cooler upper air temperatures just by the strength of the sun, really, but you do feel cooler upper air temperatures, or cooler than average upper air temperatures. You feel them more when it's overcast and raining, and we do have rainfall spikes coming back here from around Friday onwards. This is the 25th of July just here, and we've got some quite big spikes then, and then we keep rainfall spikes going through towards the end of August, towards the end of July into the start of August, and that just sort of indicates that we're probably seeing an increasing trend to more unsettled conditions from the end of the week into weekend and going through into next week. Fairly dry, not totally dry, but fairly dry through the next few days as this downwards trend in the temperatures are occurring. So with cooler than average upper air temperatures and with rainfall, there will be some quite miserable feeling days when it's overcast and wet at this time of year. You do feel the cooler upper air temperatures more, but when the sun is out you can offset them. So if sun comes out, it's going to feel warm enough, but if it's cloudy and wet with these cooler than average upper air temperatures, it will feel pretty miserable. The temperature anomaly from the 20th through to 28th of July is coming out a bit cooler than average, particularly so in the north, less so in the south, but all areas generally in those blue curves, as is most of Scandinavia and Western Russia, been a very poor summer for them. The rainfall anomaly, precipitation anomaly show we're coming out about average really, and this is a transitional period, so the next 4 days or so going to be largely dry, and then after that it looks quite a bit wetter, so expect this to be trending wetter, this chart, over the next 2 or 3 days. So here's the generic GFS chart for 6 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. This is the latest update from the GFS. As this area of low pressure to the north of Scotland, that's the driver of the weather. It's not that deep an area of low pressure, but it is pulling down pretty cool air from the north. Follow the isobars back, the air is originating from somewhere to the north of Iceland, so pretty cool air coming down around an area of low pressure through the middle part of the week. We get this area of low pressure developing down to the southwest of the country on Friday. Have to watch out for this. Well, not all models are in agreement with this. I'll show you some other models in a moment, but the GFS wants to make this into a major feature actually as it moves in during the course of Friday. The precipitation with that showing some very heavy rain indeed heading in across the country. Will be cool and really wet if it comes off, and it sort of ends up as a major sort of dartboard area of low pressure by the time you go through to Saturday. 995 millibar low slap bang over the top of the country is hardly what you want to be seeing on the 25th of July when everybody is heading off towards the coast for their holiday. So that does look pretty grim, but as I say, luckily not all the models are in agreement with that, so just watch your space on that one. The low pressure clears away to the east as we go through into sunny, but we've got more low pressures downstream in the Atlantic for what is a pretty unsettled spell, and that next area of low pressure comes through in a week's time. Saturday the 27th will bring more rain, particularly to the north and west, and we stay pretty unsettled then going through to day 10. I mean, got a little bit of ridging out to the west, but overall this is sort of a cool and showery type scenario going through to Thursday the 30th of July. So I want to very quickly show you this. These are the upper air temperatures for day 10, the 30th of July, and just notice over Greenland we've got a little bit of minus 10, 850 HPA air there in terms of the upper air temperature. That, believe it or not, despite the fact it's the 30th of July, that is the start of the Arctic winter, when the minus 10 isotherm begins to appear over the pole and over Greenland. That's the beginnings of the Arctic winter. If I show you the upper air temperatures right now, up there you can see that it's not as cold as that. We've got the minus 5 isotherm there, but generally it's not too bad. But as we go back to day 10, and of course this is a forecast, so it may not come off, but it's usually around this time that it begins to cool down over Greenland and the pole. So yeah, we're a long way after the longest day, of course, which occurred on the 21st of June, and you would expect that around 6 weeks or so after the longest day it will start to cool down over the Arctic and over Greenland. That is the beginning of winter 2015-2016. If we have a look at the ECMWF, we can see that for Friday it's not making as much of that area of low pressure for Friday. There is the low down there, but it's being blocked a little bit by this ridge, so it doesn't make as much of it. Nevertheless, we still bring down this cool sort of northwesterly flow, and we sort of keep things a little bit mixed and cool as we go through into weekend. It's not too bad really. There's a bit of a ridge building through. It's within relatively cool air, but at least it is mostly dry. Beyond that though, the ridge very quickly gets pushed away by this next area of low pressure coming in off the Atlantic to give us a very unsettled start to next week. That becomes quite a major feature actually. 995 millibars to the north of Scotland on Tuesday, next Tuesday, 28th of July. Cool air again coming in around that, and some quite heavy rain associated with that too. And it stays pretty cool and mixed as we go through to day 10, Thursday, 30th of July. Again, follow the isobars back. The air is originating from a long way north, definitely to the north of Iceland, possibly as far north as the North Pole. So it's not going to be a heat wave on that scenario. Cool, showery, unsettled conditions for the end of July. Finally, the GEM, all very similar. There's that low pressure that the GFS wants to turn into a major feature. It's down well to the southwest of us off the coast of Portugal. on Friday. Where does it go beyond that? Actually, it runs in across northern Spain and France, so it goes to the south of us. But as I said, we've got to watch out for it because its position is chopping and changing on these models, and it could end up, as the GFS shows it, which is a major feature right over top of the country, so need to watch out for Friday. Otherwise, it's cool and showery into weekend with winds in from the northwest. Try to build a bit of a ridge from Sunday, but that's quickly flattened off as this next low pressure comes in, a major feature this, unusually deep for the time of year. To give us a really unsettled spell through next week with showers along the spells of rain, and with winds going into the north around that low pressure clears to the east around the UK, it is likely to be pretty cool and unsettled through next week. So not terribly inspiring conditions for the coming week to 10 days. We're going to start off relatively dry away from the north, but it will be turning increasingly cool, and then from the weekend and into next week we've got to be watching out for some quite intense areas of low pressure, perhaps at the time of year, usually deep low pressures to be moving in, giving us a really unsettled spell, possibly for next week. It may not finish up as bad as these models are showing, so let's wait and see, but definitely not great if you're planning a trip to the coast. Right, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.